All right, guys, in this episode of Bodybuilding News today, we're going to be doing an episode on John Jewett versus David Henry. So, if you guys are interested in hearing about both of these gentlemen's 212 bodybuilding prep as we get ready for the Mr. Olympia in 4 days from now, if you're interested in seeing this nice little comparison and their update conditionings that they post online, make sure you stay tuned. So one of you guys requested that I do a David Henry update video on his way to this year's Mr. Olympia, and I'm glad to do that. So this is what this video is going to be, and I thought that would be a great comparison to put him up against John Jewett, who placed 4th at last year's Mr. Olympia in the 212. Not a lot of people are talking about him, John Jewett. I noticed that his Instagram was a little bit lower in followers, and his most recent physique update, which is absolutely insane. I mean, he's shredded. Only had like 8,000 follows or 8,000 likes. So I was really surprised with that. So I thought I'd give John Jewett here a little spotlight. This is probably going to be one of my dark horses to do very well at this year's Mr. Olympia in the 212. No one's talking about him. Like I said, no one's talking about him. There is no hype for him. A lot of people are having different people like George Peterson and the whatnots placing ahead of John Jewett. So I wanted to give John here a little highlight, a little spotlight, and a fair comparison against a very veteran, a very seasoned competitor, a Mr. Olympia title holder in the 202, David Henry. And for the most part, I'll leave these comparisons up to you guys. I'll only point out things, onesie, twosie little items. I like to keep you guys pretty unbiased and fair when these comparisons are being put up. Definitely going to be John Jewett being the younger competitor. I mean, he's only just turned pro in, it was like 2013 or 2016. So still a very fair and new competitor to the IFBB. Very big promising future for John here. And for the most part, I wouldn't say he's smaller. He's just built different. He holds his poses, especially the back lat. He holds his poses differently. But for the most part, I think they're a pretty good comparison, a fair comparison between these two gentlemen. So I hope you guys enjoy these comparisons, these side-by-sides. I also wanted to go in depth into John Jewett and David Henry's competitive history. Definitely going to be very different. I mean, really, when you look at John Jewett being a fairly new competitor in the IFBB, winning his pro card in 2016, and his first show ever in the NPC, at least, was 2013, where he placed 8th. 2016, with his pro debut, he placed 5th, and in 2018, again, another 5th place finish. But in 2019 is where he won, if you do remember, he won the, I think it was the Tampa Pro in the 212, and then he placed 4th. He placed 4th. My graphic is incorrect. I apologize. He placed 4th at the 2019 Mr. Olympia in the 212. So a fairly new competitor. Lots of time, lots of years ahead of him. And then just looking at David Henry's competitive history, I mean, I've got one graphic here. His first show ever that we know of was in 1998 at the South Korean Mr. Ozan's middleweight, where he won first place there in the middleweight, obviously. And that was when he was actually on orders in the Air Force. He was actually stationed overseas in South Korea. So a fellow veteran, I do appreciate his service. And then, I mean, it leads all the way into, I think, somewhere around 2000, 2001, 2002, he actually won his pro card at the 2002 NPC Nationals in the middleweight. So, competed for a few years before winning his pro card, and then he just goes on a tear. He wins the not the or no, it is the first. He wins the first ever 202, and then the London guy comes in and wins. I think it was three of them. So I mean, very very dense. Full competitive history. I have all the way up to 2014, but he's definitely competed much farther into the years as it is 2020, and he's still showing up at the Mr. Olympia. Last year, placed 11th at the Mr. Olympia in the 212, so he's still doing fairly well. He's definitely aging, but no disrespect. Obviously, I'm just speaking the facts here. He still holds up against a lot of competitors. I think he still has quite a few more years in front of him if he really wants to. Nothing's stopping him. I think he looks fantastic still. Midsection still controlled, so it's always something good to see when you look at these competitors here. But I really do like both of these guys' physiques. I think they have great futures, even with David Henry towards the end of his career, a very luscious and well-rounded career that he's had so far. And then someone like John Jewett, I mean, really just starting to get his feet wet, becoming one of the premier bodybuilders in the 212 class. And shit, I'll even say just bodybuilding in general. I think he has an amazing physique. I think that his most recent post really speaks volumes about how serious he is taking this year's Mr. Olympia. People like Keon Pearson and George Peterson coming into his class, so he's going to have to defend that title. Obviously, Peterson doing very well, getting ready for this show, and Keon Pearson already dropping out for mental health, so kudos to him for that. But very excited for this year's 212. We are 4 days out, so expect lots more content, but I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Bodybuilding News today. Let me know if you guys would like to see any specific competitors being featured on this channel. If you enjoyed Bodybuilding News today, consider subscribing. Like I said, we have lots more content coming out in the near future. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.